Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the sweet fruit bag. Now, this is a really nice size bag. It measures about 10 inches long, and it's about 16 inches completely around. But if you want a longer bag, you can certainly just add more rows and make it longer. Now, the stitch pattern that we're using on this portion of the bag is called Bars and Shells by a lot of pattern designers. I don't know if that's its official name. I don't even care because I love how this works up on our bag. And then we add this fun removable tassel. You can put it on one handle or you can slide it on both handles to keep your handles secure while you're shopping. Now, the size of the handle is so that you can just slip it over your wrist or maybe up your arm a little bit. But if you want that handle longer, you can make it longer as well. It's pretty versatile that way. So if you want the written pattern with all the pictures and instructions, you can find that pattern link, as always, down in the notes underneath this video. To make the sweet fruit bag, you're going to need about 3.5 ounces of yarn, and that's how much is on these cakes. I designed this one out of the lime. This one's a blueberry and this one is guava. They have dragon fruit and lots of other fruit rolls. Now, you do not have to use this particular yarn. You can use any medium weight number 4 yarn you have on hand. I like the acrylic for this one just because I want to be able to wash it a lot and I want it to wear really well. Now, you can use cotton or any other fiber that you would like, just as long as it's a medium weight number 4 yarn. And again, you need 3.5 ounces or about 174 yards of acrylic yarn. We're going to stitch today with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle just for weaving in ends, and then of course you're going to need your scissors. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle, so we'll put the tail of yarn over our hook and pull that through. And then we'll tie that stay knot. Now, if you would like to use the magic circle or another method of making your beginning circle, you certainly can. Now we'll go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. And now we're going to stitch 9 more double crochets in this chain 5 loop. And again, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. That's a double crochet. You'll also notice that I'm stitching over my tail of yarn, and that's so we can pull that string and close up that hole in the middle of our bag. All right, let's see how many I've stitched. Here's our chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 double crochets, and remember to count that chain 3 as your first. We're going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now, before I do the next row, I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to grab my needle. Let's give that a little bit of a tug first. That way we have a little bit of length to play with here. All right, let me remove my hook. And we'll go ahead and weave this in. Now, you can wait to the end of your project to do this if you would like. I just like to get it over with, then I don't have to worry about it. Especially when something's on the inside of a bag or like a sock or booty or something. I don't want to have to fight to get inside that bag or back inside. There we go. Clip that off. And so now for row 1, we have 10 double crochets. We joined to our chain 3 and chained 3. For row 2, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to double crochet in that same stitch as our chain 3. And now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. Two double crochets in each of the double crochets around, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. I stitched 2 double crochets in each of those 10, so I have 20 double crochets. We're going to join to the chain 3 and chain 3. And for row 3, we're basically going to do the same thing we did on row 2. We're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then stitch 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. And this is going to give us a nice flat bottom to our bag, so we can fit lots of fruits and vegetables inside. Because although this bag seems a little bit small, it holds a lot more than you think. So I'm stitching 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around. I stitched 2 double crochets in each of those stitches around, so on row 3 we have 40 double crochets. We're again going to join to the top of that chain 3 and chain 3. So for row 4, our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet, and we're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. We'll stitch 1 double crochet in that next stitch, and then the next stitch we'll stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And so for row 4 we're doing 1 and 2. 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next. I call that doing 1 and 2. It's not an official term, it just helps me know what I'm supposed to be doing on this row. So we're going to repeat around 1 double crochet in the next stitch and 2 double crochets in the next. And we will repeat this, working all the way around this row. And join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 4, and you should have 60 double crochets around. Now it might ripple on you just a little bit. Don't worry about that. These next 2 rows will help that flatten out, okay? So we're going to join to our chain 3 with our slip stitch, and we're going to chain 3. And for row 5 and row 6, we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. So for row 5, we'll stitch 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We'll join back to our chain 3 and repeat. So for row 5 and row 6, we're just stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. We'll join back to the chain 3 and chain 3. So we'll just have 2 solid rows of double crochets. I completed those 2 rows of just 1 double crochet in each of those stitches around, join to the chain 3 and repeat. So I have 2 solid rows of double crochet. I joined and chained 3. Now the stitch pattern we're going to be using on the sides of our bag has been called bars and shells. All right, I don't know if that's an official term, but I have seen it called that. Our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. We're going to double crochet in that same stitch. We're going to chain 2 and then stitch 2 more double crochets in this same stitch. 1 and 2. So that's our first shell. All right, so now we're going to skip 2 double crochets, and then we'll stitch a front post in that next double crochet. And that means we're going to go around the post of the stitch. We usually stitch up here, but we're going to go around the post and stitch a double crochet. Now we're going to skip 2 and stitch a shell stitch in the next, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. We'll skip the next 2 and stitch a front post double crochet in the next. Skip 2 and stitch a shell stitch in the next, which again is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And so this is the way that this will look. You'll have your shell stitch, skip 2, front post double crochet, skip 2, shell stitch in the next, skip 2, front post double crochet, and we'll repeat this working all the way around and join back to our first chain 3. I have completed row 7. You're going to have 10 shell stitches and 10 of your front post stitches. Here's my last front post stitch. We join to the chain 3. We want to slip stitch in the next double crochet and then slip stitch in that chain 2 space and chain 3. All right, so now for row 8, we're going to be stitching our shell stitches in the chain 1 spaces of the shell stitches. And again, that's 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. All right, so our shell stitch goes in the chain 2 space of our shell stitch. Now we're going to front post around the front post that we just stitched on the previous row. All right, so then we'll go to the chain 1 space of the next shell stitch and stitch a shell stitch. Then we'll go to the next front post and stitch a front post in the front post and repeat. And for row 8, you'll just repeat this, working all the way around, and again, join back to that chain 3. See how those front posts stick out? Gives it just a really nice texture, and those beautiful shell stitches. I have completed row 8, shell stitches in the chain 2 space of our shell stitches, front post stitches in the front post stitches. All the way around, we join back to our chain 3, slip stitched in the double crochet, and then slip stitched in the chain 2 space and chain 3. And so what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat row 8 for 10 more rows. And that's going to give you a approximately 10-inch tall bag. If you want your bag taller, of course, you can do as many rows as you want. But for our pattern, we're going to be repeating row 8 for 10 more rows. I have stitched those 10 additional rows, and that brings us up to row 18. Isn't that pretty how the shell stitches and the bar of the front post stitches look. I really love that. All right, so now we're going to stitch a row of double crochets at the top of our bag. So we joined to our first chain 3, and now we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next. We're going to skip the chain 2 space and stitch a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets of that shell stitch. And then we'll double crochet in our front post, and we're going to just stitch a regular double crochet up at the top where we normally stitch. All right, and so we'll be stitching a double crochet in each of the double crochets of the shell stitch, but not the chain 2 space. So we'll just skip over that chain 2 space and stitch our double crochet in those last 2 of that shell stitch, and then a double crochet in the front post at the top. All right, so basically it's 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets of the shell stitches and 1 double crochet in the front post double crochet. And again, it's a regular double crochet, not a front post. All right, and this is going to give us just a solid row of double crochet around. And we'll stitch this all the way around and join back to our chain 3. We stitched 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets of our shell stitches, 1 double crochet in each of our front post double crochets. You're going to have 50 double crochets. We're going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 1. And now we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those double crochets. We'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets around, and then we'll join back to our first single crochet. I single crocheted in each double crochet around. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1, and now I'm just going to repeat what I just did and stitch 1 single crochet in each of the stitches, and that will give us a nice sturdy band at the top of our bag, because we have to have a sturdy band to add our handle onto. All right, so we're just going to repeat and stitch 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets around, and then join back to that first single crochet. I stitched that additional row of single crochet, and you can see having those 2 rows there is going to give us a nice sturdy place to attach our handle. All right, so I joined to the first single crochet and I chained 1. Now we're going to start forming the handle, and what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet in just the first 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's the width of our handle. If you want a thicker handle, you can do more stitches. If you want a more narrow handle, do less stitches. I like the 6. I think it's just the right size for this bag. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet in those 6 stitches. Chain 1, turn our work, 1 single crochet in those 6 stitches. and you'll continue to stitch 1 single crochet in each stitch, chain 1 turn for the length you want for your handle. I'm going to be stitching 30 more rows for the length of my handle. But again, you can stitch as many as you need. Grab your tape measure, measure as you go, and make the handle for the length that you need or want. I have stitched those additional rows for my handle, and if you do this according to the pattern, you're going to get a handle that's about 9.5 inches long. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half and bring that handle to the other side, but you want to stitch it on this way, so we're going to stitch it under here. Okay, to chain 1 first. There we go. So we're going to line that up, make sure everything is even, and it's lined up, you can see right here with this one, and so we want to line it up with this one here. All right, and now we're just going to single crochet it to the bag, going through the handle and the top of the bag. And this will put this on here nice and secure. Sometimes I attach the handle with a slip stitch, but I really wanted to use a single crochet on here because it's going to have some heavy fruits and vegetables in it, maybe. Mine will probably. But we want it to be nice and sturdy, and it still looks really nice on this side. Okay? And we'll just grab that needle and we're going to weave this in. We want to weave it in nice and securely as well, because we don't want the handle to come off when we're using it or in the wash. Alright, so I'm going to weave this in, and then I'm going to show you how to make that super cute tassel, just to add a little touch of fun. Now, you don't have to make the tassel if you don't want to. I just like doing it because it does add a little touch of fun. So you're going to need to cut 2 strands of yarn about 10 inches long. This one I cut a little longer. It's okay. And I'm using 2 strands because I want to make sure I get both the colors of green, white, or I should say all 3 colors of green, white, and yellow on my tassel. And I'm just going to wrap around my fingers a couple of times. I want it to be a little thicker than some of my others, and so I'm going to wrap it a few more times just so it's a nice thick tassel. That'll look good. I'll go ahead and clip that, and I'll clip the loops at the bottom. Alright, now I'm going to take one of my strands. I'm going to take the shorter one I cut, and there's a reason I'm going to use the shorter one. Alright, so we're just going to put the ends together. Make sure that's even as much as possible, because we can trim that, of course. We'll tie a knot up here, just like that. Then we'll grab this one, we'll lay it across about 1 inch down, depends on where you want to place that. Alright, now this is the tassel, or as my grandmother always said, tassel. And we're going to grab this container here that I like to use and just trim off those edges so that it's a little bit neater and more even. I don't care if it's not perfect. I think they should be not perfect. Alright, so that's the tassel. Alright, super cute. But we're going to be attaching that with a braid. And so I'm going to grab my yarn. I should say a chain, not a braid. Alright, so there's the tassel. We're going to grab this back piece of our yarn, and we're going to chain about 50 chains. I went ahead and chained 50. I'm going to cut this yarn. Alright, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to attach it to the tassel. Alright, so we're going to take our hook and we're going to go in where we tied that. That's why we didn't want to tie that too tight. And just bring that through. You'll have to ease it through. There we go. All right. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm not going to cut them. I'm going to go in here. And I'm just going to grab them and pull them inside. There we go. And then you probably have to pull that out just a little bit to keep it nice and neat. And then we'll pull this because we want this tassel on a braid. All right, let me grab the bag. All right, and you can decide which side you want to put your tassel. I'm going to put mine on this side. Okay, so we're going to put the ends of these together. And tie a knot. Nice and tight. And you can always tie a second one if you're not happy that that's going to stay. And the reason we're doing it this way is we're going to loop this through. That way, when we want to wash our bag, we can do so. We'll just take the tassel off and toss the bag in the wash. All right? Super easy. If you don't want to see this knot, all you have to do is move this around so the knot is down there, and then do the same thing. Because this is probably going to have produce in it, and so you're going to have to wash your bag, but you don't want to wash the tassel, so you want to make it a removable tassel. Isn't that cute? Or tassel. So now our sweet fruit bag is ready for shopping, for using at the farmer's market, for using anywhere you want to go, or maybe even just as your purse. It makes a nice handbag. And if you don't want your handles to come apart, you have things inside, you can wrap this chain over both the handles and keep your stuff inside secure.